Hey there folks, this is Keiichi welcoming you right back to Let's Play Higurashi. This is episode 64. In the last episode, we had an amazing part where Sadako lashed out and Keiichi had the bright spark idea to actually kill the uncle himself. And I think it's going to get really good from now on. So I hope you look forward to that. Let's actually get on with it. This is chapter 9 starting now. I'm actually recording this the same day as I recorded the last one, like straight after, because I really want to see what's happening. I normally just do one episode a day for this game, because reading a lot can get a bit much, but anyway. Mion and the others, having to set up for the Watanagashi festival or something, invited me along, but I refused. Of course I did. How could they be taking it easy and setting up for a festival in this situation? Mion had a lot of nerve. He's hating his friends. Reminds me of the first arc. The first thing I did when I got back was take a shower. Not because I wanted to wash off sweat, it was because I wanted to be even calmer. A calm killer is a pleasant killer. I already understood this, but killing that man would be so very easy. The really hard thing would be not getting arrested for it, so we could get our peaceful days back. As I thought about it, I realised it wasn't easy. Japan's police force have the highest arrest rate in the world. Really? I would need to deceitfully pull off the perfect crime. It couldn't be a half-hearted attempt. Still, it wasn't 100%. Even the best police force in the world couldn't have a 100% arrest rate. Nope. I've read a lot of articles on trials with people brought up on false charges. They do a lot to determine whether they really were false accusations, but figuring out who the real criminal was is usually out of the question. And that meant perfect crimes did exist. The shower is a good place to think though, innit? I always used to when I had a shower. In fact, perfect crimes were sort of like works of art. They could even be respected and revered. Now I don't wash at all, by the way. You just had to look at the inundation of mystery novels everywhere throughout history. They dealt with all sorts of difficult to solve incidents, involving secret rooms and alibis and stuff, but they all wanted to show one thing. They wanted to show the beauty of a perfect crime. There was something divine in the flawlessness of the word perfect. Yes, perfect crimes were skills of the gods. And in that sense, the serial freak deaths they were calling the curse of Oishiro-sama, I understood. It must have been the works of gods. Each one appeared to have been resolved, but they couldn't stop it from happening every year. Yeah, skills belonging only to gods, those are perfect crimes. And I would be setting up my own crime before Oishiro-sama's series of perfect crimes 4 years in the running. If I were to put it boldly, I was challenging a god. Foolhardiness would be needed to make the decision, but I needed to be calm, cool, colder than ice to put that plan together. Kill him like a flame. But as systematic as ice. Starting now, I need to retain both of those ideas within me. Modelling my crime after a mystery novel wasn't actually a bad thing to focus on. Sometimes, kidnappings involved disturbing, original methods that made it into the newspaper were used as a basis for novels after the person was arrested. Stuff like that made it into the news. Yeah, they do use that sort of stuff. I did a law module, even though it was nothing to do with the course I was doing, but I had to do a law module in uni. And you look into other cases, find examples and things. It's a whole system, I can't remember what it was called now, but computer system. Day and night for a very long time, mystery novel authors polished and refined their most fantastic artistic crimes. Imitating that could be a shortcut to planning the perfect crime in a short period of time. Of course, I haven't read enough mystery novels to act all high and mighty about them. The one who really liked mystery novels was my mom. She'd read every well-known mystery novel from overseas, from past and present. Every time she watched mystery shows, she would always criticize them as having cheap tricks or being poorly thought out. I wonder what the perfect crime would mean to her. Let's find out, shall we? What do I think the most well-done perfect crime in all the mystery novels I've read is? Yeah. Well, you read quite a lot of them, right? I figured you might know a lot about them. It's more fun to read them to find out. If I told you all the tricks right off the bat, they'd be no fun anymore. That's true. It wasn't like I was asking for my own amusement. She was deflecting the question, so I would somehow butter her up first and draw out an answer. Of course, Agatha Christie's And Then There Were None is my top recommendation. I've heard a lot of good things about that, but I've never read it or played it. I think there's a game on the PSN store. I think. A Murder on the Orient Express used some great, bold tricks too, of course. I didn't see it coming at all. And I love trains, so that would be a perfect one for me to check out. I mean, I assume it's all on a train, not just bits. I didn't want to know which novels you liked. I wanted to know about the trick that made you the most surprised. When I say I love trains, I love them in films and stuff. Going on them myself, I don't mind it, but I like how they can be used so theatrically. Baccano being one of my personal favourite train bits of entertainment, if that makes any sense. I do want to know which novels you liked. I wanted to know about the trick that made you the most surprised. If it was really a perfect trick, the detectives wouldn't be able to solve the case though. That was true. Then there'd be no point. Mystery novels are enjoyable because of the process of the mysteries getting solved. If it was unsolvable, it wouldn't make a very good topic for a novel. I get it. Yeah, you're right. If the main character can't solve it, it wouldn't be much of a story, huh? Was it being too simplistic? A mystery novel was basically a game. They were written so that you can get to the goal, so that you could solve them. But I couldn't use something so optimistic. It needed to be the be-all, end-all of tricks, so that we could, without a doubt, return to our old lives. By the way, Keiichi, do you understand that truly perfect crimes don't even become stories? Mom looked at me intellectually and grinned impishly. I'd never gotten to read it, but apparently one time a long time ago, Mom had written her own mystery novel and submitted it for some mystery novel award. Apparently she was really into it. Don't even become stories? What's that mean? Keiichi, what are the essential parts of a story? A beginning, a middle, and an end. Correct. The beginning, of course, is especially important. If there is no beginning, then the story never starts. Well, yeah. If nothing happened, nothing would begin. Right. Nothing happened, so it wouldn't even be an incident. Detectives wouldn't be called, so there wouldn't be any mystery. There would be no mystery, so there would be no solution. In other words, it would be the ultimate perfect crime. Wait a second. Could you explain that again? My mum just told me something absurd. And she was saying it so smoothly too, so I kind of tuned her out, but she said something extremely important just now. It's not really that difficult to understand. The incident just has to never come to light, that's all. Just has to never come to light. For example, how about this? Say there's an old man living deep in a forest nobody goes into. And one day, the old man gets killed by an axe. And, let's say the criminal was the old man's son. He went to the old man's house and they were drinking together, but they got into a fight and he killed him. What an extremely cheap plot. It was an impulsive crime, without a bit of planning. It was pretty far from a perfect crime. But Keiichi, the house was really, really deep in this forest. So deep in the mountains that nobody would ever go out that far. Then his son would go back to town and say that the old man was doing fine. What about that as a perfect crime? Keiichi, this incident would only begin when it was found out that the old man was killed. If nobody ever visited the old man's house after that, that beginning would never occur. The beginning would never occur. So it's a killing, but nobody knows about it, so no detective or anything. So basically, the story wouldn't start. The incident wouldn't come to light, and they wouldn't call in detectives. Exactly! And nobody would be suspicious in the first place, so there'd be no mystery. They'd think the old man was still living by himself deep in the forest. This is the most I think you get to know about the mother, Anna. I mean, so far anyway. And the old man's face would appear in the sky, and that would be it. Something like that, you know? I mean, I say know about her. I mean, get to see her and stuff. That's amazing. That's a pretty great trick. But it wouldn't be a novel. Mystery novels are far entertainment after all. They can't be instruction manuals for perfect crimes. I was trying hard to talk cheerfully to fool her, but inside I was excited. Special tools, strange geography, mysterious drugs, traps involving huge sums of cash. None of them were needed for perfect crimes. The important thing was that there wasn't a beginning. As long as the incident didn't come to light, it would be fine. Speaking broadly, if I could kill him without anyone finding out, and dispose of the corpse somewhere no one would find, it would basically already be a perfect crime. Of course, if someone up and vanished one day all of a sudden, people would get suspicious. But that didn't apply to this man. Last year, after their aunt died, he ran away from the village in fear of Oyashiro-sama. When the night of Watanagashi came around again, everyone would have to think that he ran away in fear again. I mean, he had been living with a lover of his in town. No matter what it felt like when he vanished, no one would be suspicious. No, he'd just run away from her. With her. From her? People hated him, after all. No one would care where he went if he disappeared. When I thought about it like that, it got easier and easier to imagine killing him. There was no point in thinking inside my house anymore. I left to get my bike out of the garage. For now it didn't matter where I was going. I'm going to kill a man, Mom. I just rode through the wind, trying to calm my excitement by feeling the cool air on my body. Where I'd kill him, how I'd do it, what time, and how to dispose of the corpse. If I just had those 4 things, I could get a good plan going. I was so surprised at how little there was to decide that I shivered. I'd been completely prepared to build this humongous plan over a really long period of time, but if I could just get these little things in order, I could put it into motion. Today was Saturday. I would have to kill him on the night of Watanagashi, so as long as I was standing in for Oyashiro-sama, I only had 24 hours remaining. Satoko, just hang on for 24 more hours. I can't even imagine having to suffer through even more, but please hold out for a little longer. I know you can't even last another second, I know that, but please just hold out. Your Nini will save you for sure. Oh. Outside it was still early enough for the cicadas to be crying. Early afternoon. Evening was still a long way off. I looked at the sky. At some point it had gotten cloudy. Come to think of it, as I left the house, I heard on the TV that the weather forecast was calling for a chance of rain on Sunday. The sky was the colour of lead. It does look a bit grey. If I heard a little bit of thunder, oh, not that grey, I definitely have expected a sudden evening shower. My first destination was school. Before explaining why I was going there, I needed to explain what method for killing that man I had decided upon. I decided that the most suitable death, the one I needed to give him, was the same as last year's curse, the same as the punishment their aunt had received, being beaten to death. Wouldn't beating him to death be somewhat unreliable? This is an odd song. I find it odd. You may think that stabbing him with a blade would be more reliable, but this was something I had chosen after a lot of thought. You just needed to think realistically. The law, it prohibited carrying any blades longer than 10 centimeters, I think. So the blades available to me, though long enough, were limited to things shorter than a ruler. You can probably understand how tricky it would be with such a short reach to go up against an opponent that might fight back. In that case, using a weapon with reach would be far more effective. You might not have the same precision, but you just had to hit the guy until you killed him. Both options resulted in death. With that settled, what's the weapon with the most terrifying force behind it, that is also easy to carry around? By this point, you should immediately think of a metal baseball bat. I don't need to explain how terrifying a metal baseball bat can be as a weapon. Of special note is the fact that you can carry one around in broad daylight and not be thought of as suspicious. Just those 2 points would have been enough to choose a metal bat for my weapon. But there was one more reason for choosing a metal bat in particular. I will speak about it later. Okay, I can wait. Oh shit. I turned the sound up really loud then. After school that Saturday, my classmates were still having fun, playing in the schoolyard. I could show up there and it would be the same as always, so nobody will think I'm suspicious. Get my hands on the weapon without looking suspicious was actually a factor I couldn't ignore. I didn't normally play baseball, so I went to a sports store looking for a metal bat. It would definitely be suspicious. I can't let there be a beginning to the story, so I needed to be really careful even about that. That left school. At a location at which my appearance wouldn't be suspicious, I would acquire the weapon. I checked inside the classroom through the window, but of course there was nobody there. The only students who would stay in there were me and the others, when doing club activities. Without us, the classroom after school was just an empty, unused room. Without glancing around nervously, as if I'd just gone to get something I'd forgotten, I casually went in the entrance. It looked like the teacher was busy with paperwork in the teacher's lounge. Handy. I didn't see her in the hallway. Naturally, yet quickly as a shadow, I entered the classroom. The empty room was full of a strange, stagnant air that you couldn't feel normally. An empty classroom with nobody here. Maybe while no one was around, the desks creep about at their own accord, licking the floors clean of dirt. I bet they do. You can imagine the top of the desk coming off, can't you, and a tongue coming out. If I suddenly stepped into a place like that, would the desks in their surprise fly at me, crush my bones, eat me alive? That's ridiculous. I felt regret of wasting valuable thinking time on stupid delusions. The students' lockers were lined up in the back of the classroom. The one I was looking for wasn't my own. It was a forbidden locker, one I had accidentally discovered one day. Here it is, Hojo. This has to be it. If one person has one locker, then why would only Satoko have 2? I'd made a fuss about it once. After that, I learned it was Satoshi's locker, and he had the same last name as her, of course. But of course, even though it was a locker for a student no longer here, looking inside it was still a shameless act. But one time, I let my curiosity get the better of me and took a peek inside. Inside, it was average and worthless. At the time, I hadn't been interested in it, so until now I'd forgotten what had been in it. But now that I had, dare I say it, awakened, I remembered the thing that had been there. Scrape. I opened the locker, and a stench of mould and sweat wafted out, like a gym storehouse that hadn't been cleaned in weeks. My face puckered up at the stench, but I looked for it. Yes, Satoshi was on Coach's baseball team. Inside the locker was a Hinamazawa fighter's uniform. The one Satoshi used, the metal bat. Yes, this was the reason I wanted to choose this bat. This murder would be carried out by me, but this wasn't originally my role, it was Satoshi's. But I would stand in for him and call myself Satoko's Nini. It was one of the rules for standing in for him. I reached for the metal bat and grasped it firmly. It was light, and yet its tip had enough heft in it, enough to easily imagine the horror if I brought it down with all my might. Satoshi, I'll give you one last chance to save your sister. Lend me your strength. You're a coward, but I will stand in for you. So if you still care even a little bit about her, you will lend me your strength. There's no more suitable weapon in the world for putting that man to death than your bat. Now I just need to figure out where to hide it. Tomorrow, before the act, I would just stop by the school and grab it, because I couldn't ignore the possibility someone would see me bringing it home and think it was strange. But if I left it here, there wouldn't be a problem. Plus tomorrow was Sunday. Not only that, it was the day of the biggest festival in the whole village. Nobody would be coming to school. Exactly. Oh, voice break. I left out the entrance and went over to a construction vehicle parked nearby. We'd been warned by our teacher not to touch it just for laughs, so none of the kids would come near the vehicle either. They wouldn't, because if she found out they touched it, they'd be in huge trouble. I quietly hid it, in the shadow of the vehicle. The chances of someone operating the vehicle tomorrow were slim to none. Because tomorrow was Sunday. Government workers had the day off. And from what my classmates had said, the thing had been left here for years now. Machines that haven't been moved in years, you can't just suddenly start them up again. So it was almost definitively fine in this case. The sunlight was piercing and hot. My head grew faint for a moment. Had the heat been this harsh for the entire day? A moment of dull thoughts like this was a moment of carelessness. I gave myself a couple of hits in the head, then looked around wearily. Okay. Next, how to dispose of the corpse. Oh god. Oh! That's the end of it. Wow, that was a lot shorter than I expected it to be. I thought he was going to go through everything in one part. It looks like next time, though, he's going to explain how to get rid of the corpse. This is interesting. I'm really liking how he's building up to the main event. Yeah, he is going to talk about it, look. So, this has been Greeny XI. I hope you've enjoyed finding out the murder weapon. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you again in a bit when we go for the rest of chapter 9 and see how he's going to hide the corpse and whatever else is going to come in the chapter. See you again in a bit, folks.